Calisthenics. I'm going to read mostly from this new book, Expect Delays, but a few from earlier things. I can change the program. The loose translation of a lovely poem of Heinrich Heine's that was set to music by Robert Schumann. The rose, the lily, the dove, the sun, I love them all in love's mad swoon. I love them no more. I love only one, little one, life one, pure and true. Self-same source of all love's flows, lily, dove, sun, and rose. After the Medusa, I have to spring lightly to make or thwart a meaning, bear a thump at the Safeway's automated door, birds in their vanishing act, above or near the U.S. Mint. My mistake, I holler, but poetry comes first, democratizing confluence. Despite terror, greed, no big deal, larger than life or death. I hear fifes in the outward calm, granite humps and chins, sweet, sizable orpiment, seldom repetitive, unsaying the echo. By halves. Do limits build both sweet and cruel, or over to you off at your compass studies visor to odd angles perforated, plumb to sky, to service, mouthful signage and pearly cantina load, where squawks from the ceiling headed down the demon slopes for workplace totaled their sheer carbon feed on an average night, that at any guardrail slick nails the morphological in bins. Thus, backup wealth lifts an ancient spume, glowering with grammar, whose joined bronze gives pause, erect lapse, paging glory, when wing is rag. There was a time when that poem took about 10 breaths, deep ones to get through, I remember. It was around the time that I wrote it. Song for Connie. The sun met the moon at the corner, noon in thin air. Commotion you later choose to notice. Love shapes the heart that once was pieces. You take in hand the heart and mind. Your fate's consistent alongside mine. Unless a mess, your best guess, that is right. Thanks, the intimate fact that you elected at corners, dressed or naked, with lips taste full body, time thick or thin, fixated. Love, take heart as heart takes shape, and recognition ceases to be obscure. One line down the center, another flying outward enters. I'm going to read a poem that was, it's not in either book. It was, so to speak, commissioned. That is to say, I was asked to write something for a collection of reactions or responses somehow to the fact that the Albright Knox Gallery in Buffalo had acquired a large painting, to take up all this, but here it is, by Anselm Kiefer, called the Morgenthau Clown. And it was called that because he had in mind and sort of imposed upon this very nice, not so nice, I mean, it's a painting of flowers, but he thought to himself, I'm not a flower painter, I'm a big history painter, so it's got to be historical and meaningful, and I don't like that sort of attitude. So I was of two minds, and there resulted a kind of multiplicity of response, which was this poem. Morgenthau means Henry Morgenthau, who was Secretary of the Treasury, I think, under Roosevelt, and who, for one thing, was one of the people who, maybe the only person in Roosevelt's cabinet, who actively argued for the rescue of European Jews from their, what became their fates, and wasn't listened to very much until very late in the game. But then, as it was getting to be late in the game, and it was clear that Germany was going to lose the war, so to speak, Morgenthau had another idea, which was that once Germany was defeated, absolutely, that Germany would be absolutely confined to being an agrarian state, no industry, right? And actually this was, if you want a little history lesson, Joseph Goebbels really seized on this idea of Morgenthau's that, to encourage the continuation of to keep the Germans fighting. Because if you don't fight, this is what you're going to, your swords will be turned to plowshares eventually. What a scene. And actually, it was partially implemented, and then, no more of that, and we got the Marshall Plan. A floral after Anselm Kiefer, and it has if that's not enough, a little epigraph from W.H. Auden. Perhaps the roses really want to grow. The flowers went away because nobody saw them. An ill wind took precedence over the torpor. History intervened. The clouds blinked, interspersed with azure above in the fait accompli under Eden during Mother Nature's modernist phase. Not unlike today at the Hamburger Bahnhof, starrier than green goo were the fruits of revenant labor. No home for an offspring to be stalked through the blind pall in the golden age of myth in the peaceable kingdom hour of the wolf. Cute shit, tooth and claw, under heat lamps in the surplus. You tricked us, Ararat salute. After which perpetual complaint is just another dirty ocean being born. They brought it on themselves, quoth Granny, on the cylindrical sofa jam. Just a rental anyway. You tell me the flood isn't really a river. The flaw stays in the picture, the painting within the painting. 74 years in person, creationism outmaneuvered as in 12 scenes of famous mountains, brings back memory, see your life, stop at the sign that says it all. The pictures all fell off the cliff, befogging the turnstiles, horrific certainties in a state of dubious national storage. Substitute for a maquette, the whole rainbow came crashing over the bounding main and ended turrets expectorating into the blue handkerchief wafted in from the bordering crowd emotion left behind, so like the automatic writing that is history. It certainly seems long ago. What if the flowers had to grow? Throw them into the sea or on the tops of mountains. Cruelty wears its sensible mantle of sludge, suffering no fools among the disfigured guests. Politically honest as the deadly nightshade, fair is fair, but where is light? Who owns gravity? Can truth stop making sense? Garden in such a mess you would flush it too. Nobility and virtue battle perfidy. One has a wounded thigh, another a skin flap that ascends like a sandcastle from the thought of solid ground, in all fairness to the muzak, the delicious tagine, the hump. Golden stupa of the world, you place your bet on sanctity, observable, hence out of reach, decisively from this slab to stomach it. Gratitude reaches the finish line where guesswork meets revelation through ambient fractures to collate intelligibility with happenstance. Glasses clink, beasts resettle on the banks. You get everywhere without meaning, bleed yourself on a wall. Fruition clears the table, unlikely specimens abound. This is dedicated to Bernadette Mayer. Just one more vintage movie, Bat Wings Tonight at the Bal Masqué. Another of Earth's creatures stuffed by distinguished pedigree. I get a lot of madcap ideas about sentience, how knowing you has put you down in the book, forbidden speech recognition, else why make such a face? And now it's luck, no longer mouth that moves, when fastidious rummage whispers, to divulge a surplus, a clue, if not the key. Prospect my question laps up for good. I lean to it, knowing you, first person dwindle. Tweet, tweet, prick. Accounts payable. Somebody down there hates us deeply. He's planted a thorn where slightest woe may overrun. Disorderly and youthful sorrow, many divots picked at since, across the thrice-hounded comfort zone. Can't cut it, sees the permanent crone, encroaching aside likely lanes of executive tar, all spread skyward. You got the picture, bub. This world is ours no more, and those other euphemisms for dimly twisting wrath. A wire mesh semblance bedecked with twilight-steamed regard. Look at the wind out here. Delete imperative. Hours where money rinses life like sex, whichever nowadays serves as its signifier. Poetry and sleep. All this, none of that, it matters here. Dear illusory remains. We remember not what's allowed, but simply given. Antiseptic disputes over pure clove of youth. In a decal. Coffee to go in either hand, shady exit down the spa steps, indentured tulip morning engine zenith. Butterfly speeds off, weary of these flats, where palm trees pose and the children push. Macabre distinctions all told, tragic as a near miss for indifference sake. The moonlit frigate sequestered on a reef. She'll have the silver taken at one of her lengths, turn the air to proper then, make mine magnolia. decisions. This is there's a section in this book that's called Songs for Bands, and it's 3 parts, 3 different arrangements of work, of pieces out of on a desktop notebook. And I found that, I arranged them, and then I found that in reading them, I can rearrange them. And so I make, work for myself, and you too, but it seems worth it. December 1st, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Bright yellow, soft green, crimson and gold, brown and gray, mouse brown and dirty yellow, magenta and purple, goldenrod, obsidian and ebony, red and blue, green, cerulean, chocolate brown and pale gray, khaki and brick red, lilac, sepia and moss, orange and white, ochre and cream, pink and tan, celadon and ivory, shit brown, cerise, plum and puce, peach and black, indigo, flesh, ultramarine. The street has many still lifes. The documentary tells how trench warfare afforded soldiers a deeper appreciation of sky views, such vistas being the only ones they had to gaze upon beside the horror of the immediate pit. Egoics. The family dinner, I try to envision, actualize the mortality enveloping the room that is the room, the married couples nitpicking over kitchen details, the little kids pursuing their pleasures, me on the sofa and observer, Kent. Only Connie, her great combination of steady goodwill and basic doleur, is unmistakably real. That old condition, though, for everyone, dead and don't know it. We poets in our youth begin in gladness, but thereof come in the end despondency and madness. William Wordsworth. Tain't necessarily so. Ira Gershwin. Pasternak on Mandelstam. He got into a conversation that started before him. And Mandelstam, my breath, my warmth, has already lain on the pains of eternity. First, the bombs fell, targeting the munitions dump at the edge of town. Post-war, the annual flower show took over. The International Art Fair soon followed. The world is everything. That is the case. As in Shelley, quote, pinnacled dim in the intense inane, as in, I'm in a real pickle here. The world is running out of ice. The Iceman goeth. Charles Baudelaire, the George Washington of modernism. The modern soul went out in search of a self to come home to. tufts of what you wanted, because tufts are all you ever want and the fruits thereof. The fallen star clears a corridor, another opening, totaling the whole. Come back now. It won't come back from where it went nowhere, really. Just stayed as it was, time, event, sense of all this together, become that. That was what won't now come. Call it the outcome. Reading of a book, Robert Haas's, called The Apple Trees at Alima. I conceive of another, mine, the hamburgers at Barney's. Too bad. Definition of abstract. Touchless car wash. So then the last section has these poems, some of which resemble that poem for After Kiefer. This is a poem called Bleep. And the word bleep occurs somewhere in the poem, I think. But really nothing is omitted or censored. But it has a nice epigraph from Rosemary Trockle, something that she knitted in one of her knit paintings. Please do nothing to me, but slowly. Okay. Nice idea. Speed of inflection to light upon a paper tire mixed up in heaven's gloat. The question arises where, if surface exists, to how to mechanics in the normal sway, a form of expectation defeated. Pavans explode in markets of gland. Social skills regally decline. King Kong cure-alls cut deep, expiring. You are running down a country lane, perpetually stubbing your big toe on a water biscuit, subject only to itself, that door skin, whose dueling scars have healed many times over. There you have it. The toxic element in oblivion protrudes, weariness aside. Banana slugs know better how assembling the radicality during which purification is an option came and went. Non-greasy lotions might have helped. The daily blips suffered from and staved off. Run your fingers along the edge. The constellations dispense their wares nice and easy. Lift your arm so I can see. This is a two-part poem with the overall title, Strangers When We Meet. I like to have a little secret at the end of my poems, the way nothing is ever finished, nor do I abandon a thing because of its being just plain bad. My painting, said Juan Gris, may be bad painting, but at least it is great bad painting. In case of emergency, I write this down, and when all else fails, try being kind to strangers. Not so funny, Jack, but don't get me wrong. Only deep in the mucus do I see. And the second part, well, they had titles. So the second part is called Abdomen Ode. Paired wrongly with the obvious, a sitting blank, the walls between names selectively scaled, there must be some mistake. As just when exotic dancers age, the slipper gives pause, an old soft shoe opens for the slacker inane. Her I last saw au balcon, on point, but it was an orbital capture. Ni hao in Chinese says hello. Nothing physical. The mystery thinning out. No matter. Slowly she turns in plain English. All eyes, mouth, and hair. I think there'll be just one more. Happily ever after? You don't know that feeling? After many difficulties, the two stars are kissing with their eyes closed, and the music swells. The screen says "The End" in big block letters. Happy ending, you're set for life. In the seats, everyone is choked up, crying for the happiness such prolonged kissing promises. Meanwhile, kissing itself is amazing. I got completely lost in it. I went out and started kissing anyone I could find. Who? I always had good taste in women. Thank you.
But I'm sure you're right.
Thank you, Stephen, and also thanks to the Poetry Center, too. I'm going to read a couple of things that are printed in books, and otherwise things that are not. From mirror after mirror, no vanities displayed. I'm looking for the face I had before the world was made. Yeats's words, outside the second window, looking in. The lines are from a very beautiful poem of his called A Woman, Young and Old, written around, I suppose, around 1928. Apropos Amiri B. Aesthetic honor. That creative imagination is the only possible substitute for the plainest sort of good sense, and is, after all, merely an intensification of good sense to the point of incandescence. Those words are words of James Agee. Some of these things have hairlines beneath the poem and then something written below the hairline. So if I read a piece and I go like that, it's just the hairline. And what follows, this is called Torbett Tyler on the Train. Like Dante and Shakespeare and Homer, I wake mornings astonished by the night's dream. You know what I mean by having said so. I suppose Sappho did too, all her life. all mine. Not my dream, the dream given by night. Is it night's dream as well? The dream night dreams? Has night its dreams from chaos? The nice ones tell me of the tender side of chaos, her beautiful personal side, the side concerning death, the side which Eros Callistos knows about, that unstrings the limbs and subdues both mind and sensible thought. You know what I mean. The side we trust. As usual, a lovely girl whose bright desire, eyes sparkling, victorious smile, voluptuous body, make day appear before its customary hour. Poet Hesiod got the summons rightly writ. We haven't daylight from the sun, nor love. The line underneath, it says, little souvenir to Ed Sanders. There is a Greek folk song, an old traditional song, in which some words are, there are three good things in this world, the upper world: youth, and Levendia, and the beautiful girl. Levendia is Greek for manly excellence, or arete. And also a little scribble on here, because I was reminded by the poem that it was Nerval who was Heine's French translator who pointed out that we never see the sun in dream. Mind, the beautiful American. As war is the condition, sooner or later you have to pick a side. But no side has won my heart. War is for heroes into the glamour of performance. It's an example of cultural mediocrity. There are a lot of others, but war has the big boots. If you are lucky in war, you can have anything you want. That's the sad part. The strong are lucky, the ugly are lucky. The percentages taken for granted. They are distributed in varying proportions in each of us, each of the three, at odds with each other. I hadn't mistaken innocence, nor had I mistaken experience. The mistake I made was a misreading of the words. What else to misread? Of the interpreter, the one who translates possibility, that organizes possibility into the form of the fourth, family, father, mother, child, and the genius of completion. I am, therefore, yet looking down from heart's precipice into heart's starry night, into the containment of love's embarrassment of itself, written with its dream pencil in moon dust. It has a line underneath it, and it says under the line, Memento, Jack Clark. It was Blake who was known to the few people who spent any time with him toward the end of his life as the interpreter. And of course he was working on Dante. Yeats remarked in relation to the poem A Woman Young and Old, I am Blake's disciple, not Hegel's. Contraries are positive. A negation is not a contrary. The poem you have on the little program handout, which is called Wittgenstein's Grave, has the term in it, Sinvat. The full expression is the Sinvat Bridge. It's the bridge that, after death, the soul is guided over by its angelic companion, passing between negation and the negation of negation. It's something I ran into 50 years ago when I first read a book called Avicenna and the Visionary Recital by Henry Corbin. This is called Childhood and Youth. It has a little epigraph at the top. In September 2000, the mayor of Le Lavandou, Gilles Bernardi, proclaimed a bylaw making it illegal to die in the town. It's an absurd law, he said, to counter an absurd situation. The war never ended. Some of those bridges are still burning. I speak to you in figures. Was I looking for friends? No. I was looking for a girl. For a while I tried to improve my status in life, but an historical pattern of this kind of thing proved impossible even for me to ignore. Presently the poets showed up, they and their friends and their opinions, or I showed up, alone, wondering how I might conceive an opinion of my own. The war hasn't ended, I said. I said, look at all the bridges behind me, and pointed at the fires no one other than me could put out. I am the arsonist, I said, the firebug. Don't be an ass, they said. A Cold War has no flames. Moreover, your bridges don't matter. They aren't even bridges. They are just the messes you made down by the riverside. Why don't you go back and tidy up all that shit? You can't hide forever behind the war. The war ended. We won. Apparently, you lost. You don't even know what a figure of speech is. We know best. Boy, you can imagine how hurt I was when the poets laid all those numbers on me. Okay, I said. I guess I'll go now. I did go. I went over to David Highsmith's furniture store and bought a book, Musk, Hashish, and Blood by Hector France. He's the guy who was married to Irma Claire before she married Henri Delacroix and became Madame Cross. Nice looking woman. Then I went to my place to read the story and smoke hashish and drink whiskey and set another bridge ablaze. Standing on it, I met Virgil. You know, I said, I thought all those figures of speech you used were real figures of speech. They are, he said. Pay no attention to fools. Here, come with me. I have a bridge to see to, and I wouldn't mind some company. Bring your strike anywheres. That's to David. Le Drouot, poem for gumshoes. Drouot is French for hat. And it also, at least in mid-century Paris, had another sort of slang meaning in the milieu. That was, it meant an informer, a rat. Which starred Alain Delon, who was the father of Nico's son, although he never acknowledged it, but his mother did. Stick around. Up on the roof, the weather vane whirling. It's been a while since we've had a tropical storm in San Francisco. Tropical, warm, wet. It's tempting. But I can't see myself south, Havana, any more than I can see myself north, Colima. Cold, light, moist warmth. Just in between, temperate. The dumb show, Ginsberg called it. In the Wax Museum, poetry is. Say, wow, isn't that Bobby Dylan over there? How do you want to play it? The black sadness. Swift, whooshing wind chimes tingling, Hammett in its marine mist. The automobile, cigarettes, the unforeseeable that comes from tailing dames. Leroy Jones and or John Wieners could have introduced Frank O'Hara to Edward Dorn. Interesting four-cornered hat you might wear for Carnevale a Venezia. To Tom. That light up. Old age, senescence, is an affront to one's vanity. So don't let it rattle you. It's supposed to be like this. You are supposed to become disoriented. How could you not? After all, there used to be what was called penny candy, which if you had a penny, you could get a candy. There are still automobiles, like before, only with neon door handles. You can't blame the stars. A lot of people need help. A lot of people want to help. A lot of people are no fucking help at all. With that, I command the mist on the moor, whisper, would you? I ache to hear your voice. It's on my mind a lot, which I'm sure is on the minds of a lot of you too, or friends who are struggling one way or another. And some of them are suddenly not around anymore. Metric wire. Crawling around rotted balconies, big holes, rotted pyramidal roofs, rotted rafters. I feel funny telling you this because I don't know how it fits in, or if it should fit in, or for that matter, should fit into what. 25 years gone, in Santa Cruz, I did some roofing. And the crew was me and a sweet young working class dyke, like me, from somewhere around Boston. We listened to the Sox lose the series. J'étais a no-letter athlete in high school. In college, I fenced. One night, I phone-ordered pizza, which was delivered by my coach, the short, slender, middle-aged man from Prague. We were embarrassed. Money was exchanged. Afterward, sure, it all made sense. Like hell, it all made sense. It would have, had I chosen to be a stage actor. I'm pretty sure Montgomery Clift fenced. But despite its robotic sincerity, its widely shared base values, its nearly always repulsive secrets, I picked a career in poetry because poetry told me that it was the sole means by which I could educate myself. To Ralph Maud. The late Ralph Maud. This is called Baku Fantasia. Sorry about the nose. Baku Fantasia. The very earnest Azerbaijani was singing with all the force he had to spare amid a medley of stringed instruments, warbling and tweeting as Hogan made his way to the bar. Another crackpot assignment for the elderly cub reporter. Music deafening, although familiar. First time for Hogan. Caspian Greek? What am I doing here? This wilderness? What is safety here? Questions like that, he had 10,000 of those. The singer wouldn't quit. One gallingly yearning melody following the one before, having its throat cut by his rusty saw of a voice. At the bar, Hogan inquired of the beautiful girl, or boy, behind it, as to whether or not American could be understood. The speech, not the psyche. In a tone that went either way, certainly, sir. Hogan faltered. The voice only Hogan could hear said, hold fast. This does not all have to happen at once. Great, said Hogan. My name is Hogan. Hogan was the echo. That is an American name, said the barkeep. Sounds Central Asian. So that's how Hogan got together with the comely professor. She was moonlighting. She became the exploratorium, a long story, a geography, all because of books, because they are erotic, beloved of Eros. In case this hasn't been made official, I'll use my cylinder seal to make it so. There, have some copies made. Hand them out to the people. They agreed, Hogan and Dr. X, that travesty, just cross-dressing, wasn't it. Not farce either. Romance was it. After she got off work, the doctor and Hogan walked all the way out to Wit's End, just in time for low tide in Mothlight. Mugam, Syrian, if you know what that means, Iranian, ditto, with older, farther, Central Asianisms. Central Asia is a very large place. Deserts, mountains, vast terrain. There the imagination has had a lot of room in which to think it over without much interference, until recently. Periodic exceptions notwithstanding, the game is to have as much sympathetic knowledge of the world as one can find in oneself by affinity, the feeling of likeness. I guess it's rare that a single person can acquire total knowledge of that kind. Interesting leap. 10,000 niches. Taste them all? You should have asked me when I was younger. Hogan did his best this way, but really, Dr. X had him over the proverbial barrel. I see, she said, you are not a stranger to the stranger. Yes, he said, it's a caste or some such subset of luck, both good and bad, like Halage is said to have said, the caste of lovers. It's completely absurd, she said, but it's certainly so charming at its best. All my life, he said, I have had a strange friend. You don't say, said the doc. These are people, he was thinking, who have been around for a long time. But I guess that's so for all of us. Succession, kind of. In her office at the U, they made do. Next time I see you, she said, I am going to give you a piece of my mind, and every time after that, another piece until you know what. This poem has a hairline under it. It says, after Irby's dream. That's Ken Irby, poet in Kansas. Old friend. It's called Adventures in Dating and Doom. Now that success seems unlikely in the pants of time, to borrow the image from haberdashery, trousers for a once presentable gentleman are threadbare. As the moment finally arrived when one must say, adios, caballito. Has it all been a mere passing fancy? What my people call a passing pantsy, them that are backward folk, naive and melancholy and vexed. Up in the Ice Age ruins do they dwell, up among the stony verves, fed up with this insult to creation, human societies and their gods, calling one home precisely as the matters of art call one home across the decades, leading one home along the bumpy, rutted road that must be ridden in the rumble seat of this antique vehicle, old, overgrown road to the old house to its rubble in the woods, rock and sea and tree and quick summer's flowers. No, I don't think so, little horse. Stick around. Let the leaves turn and skip the again of it. There's news of the master mistress. He spoke to the missus in the voice of Nicole Williamson, playing me. Just you watch, he said. And Terence, by train between Istanbul and Halep, Seattle, Vancouver, Venezia, Milano, Santiago, a lugar sin limites. Though I want to say Chian, Peral keeps butting in. We are talking about it, about vanity and craft. How are we real? Is it pussy? For days and nights we've asked ourselves and one another that question, all the skulls and finger bones and de la vida sabrosa. Meanwhile, curious in the 17th century sense, how what's done and gone, our once upon a time, has risen up with such forza indifferente, what a monster, to swamp what's new. As if the memory sac has burst or been ruptured and set loose torrents, oceans, and seas to appall us all over again. One's present, so-called, that weird gift bobbing like a little boat, borne so lightly by the flood. Where to, any idea? Ask Terence. We play gesture and we play idea. One compartment over, the newlyweds, knee to knee, reading Sappho, one of them, the other reading tea. Beneath the hairline it says, Mr. Stamp, the actor.